warn you that we will stop this and we will make arrest and we will use tear gas. And you think it's going to be peaceful when people throw rocks at cars, innocent bystanders, and people wave the flag as they burn things?
Victor Davis Hanson warns that something worse is coming to Los Angeles, and now it's already arrived.
This weekend, we saw rioting in Los Angeles against ICE for its efforts to apprehend illegal aliens and employers who were hiring illegal aliens. And the riots started out initially without very many numbers, but then they turned violent. And by violence, I would define that as throwing rocks at cars, torching cars, defacing government buildings, and attacking law enforcement. But here's what's interesting. The mayor, Karen Bass, came down in her public comments on the side of the protesters who were protesting the idea of deportation at all, kind of like Kamala Harris used to march against deportation. And Gavin Newsom then gave a series of editorializations that I think have ruined his chances ever to be a serious national candidate. He said this was chaotic, this was reckless, and he said that they were just trying to have an arbitrary deportation quota.
Gavin Newsom has faced criticism from opponents who claim his immigration stance contributed to millions entering the country illegally.
Gavin, 12 million people came into the country illegally. That was 3 million a year. That was 250,000 per month. That was over 8,000 a day. They have not been able to deport more than 1,000 on most days, sometimes 500. They would have to deport 8,000 people every single day for 4 years to get back where we were with 20 million illegal aliens when Joe Biden entered office. So it's not a quota, it's an effort to stop an invasion. And it's a very funny invasion because now Gavin is mad that they nationalized the California Guard. Trump has that ability. And people said, no president, they have to request it. No, they don't. You think that JFK said to George Wallace when he nationalized the Alabama National Guard, said, would you please let us nationalize your guard so you can be removed from stopping African-American people going to the University of Alabama? No. So what I'm getting at is, on one side of these violent acts, you have these protesters. And I'll just give a word of advice.
There have been reports of individuals in the US illegally who, during certain protests or demonstrations, have displayed foreign flags, such as the Mexican flag, while isolated incidents of violence occurred.
You're going to lose the optics, Democrats, left, and immigration protesters if you have a lot of people here illegally and they're waving the American, not the American flag, but the Mexican flag as they're committing acts of violence. Think of the logic. I am waving the flag of the country under no circumstances I want to return, but I am attacking the officers and the infrastructure of the country that under every circumstance I want to stay in. That might explain why in the midst of all of this negative publicity, a CBS poll taken to show that people were outraged showed that just the opposite. 54% of the American people are for continued deportations. And you think it's going to be peaceful when people throw rocks at cars, innocent bystanders, and people wave the flag as they burn things, the Mexican flag of a foreign country? You undermining your own argument. And what is your argument? I don't know what it is. What is your argument, Karen Bass, your mayor? Now that you're not in Ghana and you're here in the United States during a burning, is it burning is okay, whether it's burning a car or burning a whole neighborhood down, and you don't act? And it was pathetic. The chief of police of Los Angeles, I felt like it was some Soviet apparatchik. He was saying, there is no violence, that we are very proud of First Amendment. And it's like, I was given a text that my job is in danger probably if I say the truth, because meanwhile the LA County Sheriff was saying, we're going to warn you that we will stop this and we will make arrest and we will use tear gas.
And apparently, they witnessed a different kind of riot. one where the crowd seemed more in control of the streets than the Los Angeles Police Department itself.
And apparently they saw a different riot, and they were more in charge of that area of the rioting than the Los Angeles Police Department. But I guess Mayor Bass, they're scared, the LA police chief and the police hierarchy, because they see that when the fire chief objected to Mayor Bass being on, I don't know, a junket, or the deputy mayor being arrested for phoning in a threat, or the water and power director leaving a reservoir that was critical to the survival of Pacific Palisades empty and unattended for months, and fire hydrants not working, and they fired her. So I guess this police chief says, if I tell the truth that these people are violent and they are officers, and the mayor is doing nothing and the governor is doing nothing, I will be fired. So I will lie and say I am really impressed by the restraint of the protesters. Final bottom line, if you take an oath to enforce the laws of your state or the country, and you see people swarming detention centers, swarming the streets, obstructing traffic, burning cars, trying to injure people with rocks, and you do nothing, then you are forsaking your oath of office. And secondly, Mayor Bass, Governor Newsom, would you please tell us, what is your position on 12 million people who entered the United States illegally, who are residing illegally at a time when the country is running a $2 trillion deficit, and your state at one point recently owed $75 billion that it did not have? What is your solution? Is it to let 1 more million in, 3 more million in, 5 more million in? What is it? What is your solution to find the 300 to 500,000 people believed to have? Just tell us, what is your solution?
You have protesters, some reportedly violent, waving foreign flags while demanding not to be deported, even as fires burn behind them.
What is your solution when you have apparently violent protesters waving the flag of a foreign national country as a way of persuading us that we should not deport them, when they are burning things and committing violence about the country they want to stay in, but waving the flag of the country they do not want to return to? What is the position of the Mexican government? Because I can tell you that there is a bill right now, the big beautiful bill that will tax remittances, the $63 billion. And all this is going to do is give rise to voices who will say, I think we need a higher percentage to tax these remittances, because they're not getting the message. The people who are demonstrating and violent apparently think that we're going to subsidize them with social services to free up money so they can send to Mexico on tax $63 billion, their greatest source of foreign exchange, while they run a $170 billion trade surplus. Why the cartels between 60 and 80,000 Americans? That's an unsustainable situation, as are these riots. Bottom line, I think, Gavin Newsom, you took your recent effort to be moderate, centrist, your podcast, and you lit a fuse and you blew it up. Nobody in their right mind would ever vote for you for anything after you went into a volatile, dangerous situation and tried to pour gasoline on it by essentially saying you, the governor, will not do anything to restore order or quiet, and you sided with people who are committing violence against their fellow residents of Los Angeles. Why do we want to do that? There's all sorts of people waiting years to come to this country. We're getting to a critical mass where Trump just doesn't care. He's not going to have to go up for election again. So the whole Harvard Trump, Harvard Trump, Harvard Trump, Harvard Trump, I'm getting so tired of all my conservative fellow intellectuals. I'm not an intellectual, but pundits or whatever they are. And they always write this: well, yes, Harvard has culpability, but Donald Trump is using a blunderbuss. He's using an axe when he should be using a surgical knife. Elon Musk was not just advising them where to cut, but sort of demanding. So there was always a tense relationship that grew out of an unnatural relationship, in the sense that rarely, we haven't seen anything like this since FDR and Harry Hopkins. And then when Trump sort of brushed it off, he went DEFCON 1.
Victor Davis Hanson warns that the clash between Elon Musk and Donald Trump is not just a feud. It's a rupture in the very fabric of the American right, unlike anything we've seen before.
I'd like to comment on this strange, bizarre, surreal, sudden fallout, or was it so sudden, between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. All of a sudden, Elon Musk started to attack the big, beautiful bill that's now in the Senate because he said it spent too much money, and it was contrary to all the work that he had done with his Doge team. They were cutting spending, and yet this was too generous, I suppose. It may increase the deficit if the economy is not stimulated as the bill intends. But the point is that Donald Trump then said he was kind of bizarre, that he has a very thin margin in Congress, and he was kind of surprised that his friend and ally would attack him that way. And then that started a cascade. So in the next 48 hours, we heard from Elon Musk that Donald Trump owed his victory to his efforts in Pennsylvania. He won the Electoral College, remember, beyond Pennsylvania.
This isn't a simple disagreement. It's a war between two titans, one representing the rising power of global tech, the other the raw force of populist nationalism.
It was critical, but it was not the sine qua non. He could have won without Pennsylvania, given the Electoral College margin. And then he said, in addition, that Donald Trump might look at impeachment. That's a little scary, because if the Democrats win the midterms, that's the first thing they're going to do. So that was kind of eerie. He also mentioned the Epstein files. He said he was going to disconnect his SpaceX Dragon component from the national space effort. I don't think he's going to do that. That would be nihilistic. And then Donald Trump replied that in kind, but not nearly as intense as Elon Musk. So what was it all about? People have given all sorts of different explanations. One of them is that the new big beautiful bill will phase out subsidies for all electric vehicles, and given Tesla's attacks on people attacking stations, chargers, dealers, individual drivers, the bad publicity the Democrats gin up, he can't afford that right now. He's very upset. Maybe it was his nominee, he thought, to head NASA, that the Trump people felt was correctly that was a Democrat and too far left.
Hanson suggests this collision could unleash chaos, as competing loyalties fracture the conservative base and long-standing alliances begin to implode.
And then there were cabinet secretaries that said that Elon Musk was not just advising them where to cut, but sort of demanding. So there was always a tense relationship that grew out of an unnatural relationship, in the sense that rarely, we haven't seen anything like this since FDR and Harry Hopkins, who was a personal advisor to FDR. And unlike Musk, he moved into the White House and basically crafted the whole détente with Joseph Stalin's Soviet Union as a leftist himself. So it was a relationship that was very, very close in an unusual way, and it was bound to have these tensions. Then Musk said, he started making these threats, but he can't go anywhere. Because remember, the California Coastal Commission, the left-wing Coastal Commission, tried to stop additional rocket flights. The left demonize him. They hate him for what he did with Doge. He's under assault on Tesla. His whole philosophy is entrepreneurism, lower taxes, less deregulation, not what the left has. So he knows he's frustrated because he knows he can't go back to the left, and yet he's angry about this bill. And then when Trump sort of brushed it off, he went DEFCON 1. Is there hope to this relationship being healed? I think there is, because it was historically rare to have a private citizen so close with the administration. But if you take that away, you can see they have the same enemies. The left are delighted right now, and they're fueling this.
With each side wielding massive influence and loyal followings, the battle threatens to spiral beyond politics into cultural and economic warfare.
They have the same enemies, and they have the same friends. They have they're not perpendicular; they're parallel. They have the same eventual visions of what America should be. They want less government, less deregulation, fewer taxes, a cultural counter-revolution, unleashing of entrepreneurial talent, a meritocracy instead of DEI, a closed border, legal-only immigration. So they're almost synonymous. So what happens to heal this rift? I think we all know what has to happen. Donald Trump is the most powerful man in the world, but unlike Elon Musk, he doesn't run a private company or even a public held company by fiat. Even though he has majorities in the House and Senate, he has to compromise. It's like herding cats. He can't get the bill he wants or his advisors want. So this beautiful bill has elements on border security, on defense, that are good, and it's the beginning, not the end. So Musk need to see that as a CEO, he can rule by directive. He can rule by fiat. And in some ways, he has more power over his domain than Donald Trump or any president does over his. So he's got to appreciate that. The other thing that he has to appreciate, I think, is that Donald Trump is now in negotiations with three of the meanest, I can use this term, SOBs in the world. Xi Jinping, the head of China, Vladimir Putin, and whoever the lunatic theocrats are running things in Iran. He can't afford to back down in a private dispute with an individual American, even one that's the richest man in the world, because it would send a message to these three characters that if you press Donald Trump, you get him angry, or you do something, he will back off. And the left has been already using that meme.
Hanson warns that if trusted intermediaries don't step in soon to define the new power balance between Musk and Trump, the resulting vacuum could trigger a full-blown ideological collapse on the right.
So what needs to happen is intermediaries come forward and they spell out the new relationship. It will not be as intense, it will not be as close, it will not be as frequent, and therefore it will avoid these disruptions. But it will be based on mutual admiration, respect, but more importantly, Elon Musk needs Donald Trump for the space exploration, for a fair shake in his business deals, and Donald Trump is aided by Elon Musk, especially the SpaceX. So it's a mutually beneficiary relationship, not just for both of them, but for us, the American people. And make no mistake about it, the Democratic Party may be neutered, but it is not inert. It is waging potty mouth videos, congressional disruptions, attacks on Teslas, huge donor-supplied lawfare going after the Trump agenda in these lower district courts. It is all geared up and frenzied for the midterms. Now is the time for unity, not disunity. And the quicker these two very talented and powerful people can form a new relationship based not as intensely as the past, but on mutual respect, the better it is for the country at large. And this is sort of emblematic of this first mysterious 4 months of Donald Trump. When people said that Donald Trump could shut the border down, nobody believed him. When people said that he could deal with the university, and then Harvard had a lot of exposure violating Supreme Court's rulings, not reporting Chinese and Middle East money, overcharging the government. And yet all of this exposure that's happening on the campus is enlightening the American people about issues they didn't think was possible just in the first 120 or 130 days of this administration. So what's the bottom line? What am I getting at? There are revolutionary, maybe counter-revolutionary developments going on at the border going on with the universities, but especially with the economy. It's being rebooted, it's being redirected in ways that economists are not even able to figure out, because we haven't done this before. And the net result might be that we're going to make progress both in the expansion of the economy and through growth in federal revenues, cut down these deficits.